I think Germany is a great place. People are complaining a lot, but it's a great opportunity because in general, people, if you compare the working style in the US, China, India, I mean, in Europe, we have it relaxed. So it's very easy to stand out. If you're ready to move, to push, and everyone start to say, oh, software, you will always find a job.
Yeah.
And now juniors especially have extremely big problems to get jobs.
In today's episode, we talk with Igor Ranc, the creator of the newsletter Handpicked Berlin. Igor conducted a survey among many professionals in Germany to provide an overview of salaries in various positions within the tech and startup world. We also discuss how to select a good company to work for, identify red flags, stand out when applying for a job, and more. I hope you find this episode useful. If you do, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the conversation. Igor Ranc, welcome to the Guten Tag Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm really happy to be here.
No, thank you for coming. First of all, I would like to ask you why you decided to start this newsletter. Tell me what was the motivation there?
Yeah, I think it had to do a bit with Corona, right? Like with all these little side projects.
Yeah.
But the main thing was basically I had quite a long career in Mercedes in Stuttgart. And then eventually I said, okay, maybe it's good for me to try something different. And then I just took a year off. So that was 21. And this time, like a typical corporate shirt, I thought I'm going to build an app, right? I thought I'm gonna get a developer and then build an app and I'm going to be this amazing startup person. I already seen myself on podcasts explaining this thing.
Yeah.
And of course, this then didn't happen, because I luckily read the right books at the beginning. And I found out that what you need to do, you need to validate the ideas really well and you need to gradually test things, etc. And then during this year when I was off, so basically having my sabbatical in 21, I also realized how important is the audience, right? Whenever you want to have whenever you have an idea or you want to test something, you will need an audience to distribute your idea.
Yeah.
And this sort of stayed with me. And in this time of this year, I validated a couple of ideas, but nothing really made sense in the sense that I would be able to make a company out of it, right? So I said, okay, time over. Now I need to go back to work. And then I said, I'm going to apply. I want to start in startups because I had this experience of NGOs back in Slovenia, but then also this corporate world of big German company. And I said, okay, let's try something small, something dynamic. And then I ended up in Berlin. And then after a couple of months, I realized, okay, I still want to do something, right? I'm not the big startup guy. And what can I do myself? And so I said, okay, I already did newsletters before, a bit writing. And I said, this is easy. I can just open another Substack and I can start, right? So that's what I then started 2 years ago. And soon it's actually going to be exactly 2 years.
Cool.
And this is how I started. Main idea being, I want to just have an audience.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your journey moving to Germany. I mean, you come from Slovenia. Why do you want to move to another country? And
basically, it's an absolute accident that I'm still here in Germany. So I did my diploma, so sort of 4-year university in Slovenia was political science. And then I worked a lot with these NGOs, with these organizations. And I said, okay, political science is cool, but maybe I need something more on my CV. I never did Erasmus. And then I said, okay, let's see what's in Germany, because Germany is relatively cheap. So masters compared to the UK or US, right? So I said, let's see what is in Germany. And at that time, I opened this German website where they have all the master's studies in Germany. And I had 100 or so many tabs open. And I just checked every single study. And then I ended up, after this long process, I ended up here in Berlin at HTW, where I did my MBA. And after I did this MBA, I went here and I thought, let's see what happens. And then what happened is that they encouraged us to do an internship. And I remember at that time was like, wow, internship, I already had so much experience, right? Because I was working and all. And then I really did this internship, and I started it in Stuttgart in Mercedes-Benz Bank. And then basically I stayed, right? Obviously it was an amazing employer, amazing job, amazing colleagues. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to die in this company, right? But then obviously all this happened, right? So I stayed there for a long time, but never really planned, because Slovenia is an amazing country, right? Everyone, not many people go and leave it. I mean, there is obviously more and more, but there is not many Slovenians that leave the country. So
really,
yeah. So it's not that I'm the only one, but it's not so many. Yeah.
But that's always a good sign of the quality of the country.
Yeah. For example, I can tell you a fact. Somebody's wallet got stolen in Ljubljana in the train station, and it was in the national news. I mean, I've seen it on our sort of website of the national TV, right? So it's extremely safe. It's a great place. You should definitely go and see it.
Oh yeah. I've never been there.
Yeah, you should. We were part of Yugoslavia, right? So that's and then after 90s, after Yugoslavia broke up, then Slovenia was really quickly developed. I mean, it was also the richest republic in Yugoslavia, right? One of the republics. And then, basically, we always had a very good situation in equality in everything, which then also, I don't know, like I never really had this entrepreneurial spirit, right? Which also maybe is related a bit to that. That it was very much
stable.
Yeah, equality, very... It's a very good country to live, and there was not always this pressure to do some business, or I don't know. It's maybe also from my own, right? I never had this urge to be my own man or do something by myself.
Okay, interesting. But what happened? Why do you decided to say, you know what, I would like to do a little break and think exactly what I want to do with my life?
I mean, you're right? It's an amazing brand, Mercedes. Also amazing company. I learned a lot. I got to know so many people. It's a great experience. I mean, how these big systems work. And I think all the big systems are very similar, right? To be fair, right? At that point, they were offering big severance packages. So this also encouraged me, right? Because they said it was mutual agreement, so you need to raise your hand, and then your boss needs to agree. And my that time manager, I said, please allow me to leave. And she was then very kind, and she said, yes, let's make it happen. And then I was able to leave, because a lot of my colleagues, they also volunteered, and they almost signed the papers, but then it didn't work, right? So I was sort of in a way lucky that I could leave, but I always keep the company in very good, I always had a very good time there.
What were you doing in Mercedes?
Yeah, I did 3 different jobs. So it was project management mostly, and then also internal audit, sort of, we call it friendly internal audit. So I traveled the world a bit. And then finally I started to work with data scientists, with analytics, in my final position there. So I basically changed 3 positions inside the company. I also basically learned German, more or less. Made one of my managers, she also encouraged me to speak more German. So I finally was able to then, because passively I understood very well a long time. And then finally with this push, because in some meetings in these big German companies, obviously, the whole group speaks German, so you don't want to stand out.
And maybe not even Hochdeutsch, maybe they even speak Swabian.
Yeah, of course. I mean, some of them, right? But I mean, I can't, like, people were always very nice, right? I never felt bad that I'm now having hard time because of my not speaking fluently German. Everyone is, in fact, encouraging. Yeah, it's really good how you speak, and you're thinking, shit, I really suck. Right?
Okay, but that's a good sign. And you have really nice colleagues, because some people say the opposite, that you try to speak German and they will get annoyed and they will switch back to English. But if you have that people that is supporting you and they allow you to make mistakes, then it at least gives you the courage to okay, then I will continue it, even if I know it's not perfect. At least they're not annoyed by my
but it's also the same problem when I personally always struggled with making mistakes, right? Like,
also it happens that when you try to speak in German, you feel that you say, or you seem dumber You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you look
because-
smarter when you speak English.
Yeah, you're not gonna have a vocabulary, right?
And then sometimes it's like quoting Gloria Pritchett from Modern Family that she says, "You don't know how smart I am in Spanish." And it's the same thing that sometimes we think, you don't know how smart I am in my native language, or if I'm speaking German, how smart I could be in English. Yeah. And that's like the barrier.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another thing that you did recently, and I think you did it also last year, was a salary trend report.
Yeah,
Last
so
year?
I think there was two reasons, right? Main reasons. One was obviously I'm interested. We talked a bit before. I'm interested which companies are good companies, etc. I'm very much interested in this problem. But second thing is then when I was interviewing, obviously you have this Kununu and Glassdoor, and you can have a bit of orientation. And then I remember the recruiter, he told me, yeah, but you know, Berlin is different than Stuttgart, right? Anchoring my expectation. So this year, then we intentionally just did startups, tech, and enterprise. And and my idea was to get fresh data and that people can now check and they can see when they interview, right? What can I now expect? Because I didn't like this fact that when I was negotiating my salary, when I was coming to Berlin, mentally, I was still in 2012, right? When I was a student, when Berlin was very different than today. And I was thinking, so this level of salaries sounds good, right? But when I came here, then I quickly realized that, especially in skilled workers or skilled people, you can get skilled employees, not people. You can get a very good salary comparable to Munich or Stuttgart or any other German city, right? And I wanted to give people the tool that they can maybe check and see, and they can then maybe assess, right? Is this what I'm getting offered realistic? And obviously, because we did it compared to Kununu and all the other platforms, it's a bit of a snapshot. And then you have this data, and then you can have a look and check out a bit.
But it's interesting when you said, if you were comparing, for example, when you started in 2012, you said?
No, that was when I was here as a student, right? And and at that time, Berlin was extremely still cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone was saying back then, if you want to make money, then go to Munich, then go to Hamburg or to the south, because there you will get good salaries. But then I think after 2014, 15, 16, things started to change, especially in the tech industry, where you will start seeing good salaries for developers, software architects, product managers. And then you saw, the same salaries as in the south, but you still have some of the convenient stuff from Berlin, which were still affordable rents, like in 2015, 16, and so on.
Yeah. And I think this shift was very, very obvious, right? And you can see by the data also, or official data, because I got a lot of, on internet, a lot of angry people looking at these results, say, it's not true, it's impossible. Because some people still are thinking in 2012, 2013, 2014 terms when they started, for example, with a job, right? So it really depends when you came to Berlin and how well you negotiated. But for sure, there is very, very many very good, very well paid jobs here. And it's on par. I don't have comparable data. Of course, like the big companies in the south, they will also pay very good money. Maybe 5 couple of percent more.
I was reading the report, and then I found out also very interesting numbers. For example, like the best paying jobs in Berlin is as a solution architect, right? And I think it was like over 100K. Like I think the average was 111K per year, which is a very good salary.
Yes.
I mean, this is top. I mean, you're in European terms, it's a very good salary, right? And we also had, closely followed by others, right? It's not like the next salary is then 80, right? So you could get an extremely good salary in Berlin.
You have a site reliability engineer with 100K, and the average software engineer, it's around 80K.
Yeah, and also there is a difference, right? You need to consider that, for example, we only had 10 solution architects, right? So if you would now introduce more, so I think for example, product managers, we had like 110 of them, I think,
Wow,
right?
okay.
So for certain roles,
Yeah.
we had much better representation than for others. So when the viewers will check the data, right, you always need to keep into consideration how many people I had. So,
True.
but it is true that last year the result was identical, right? Last year also solution architects were the best paid. Yeah.
But you will get also at the same time less, for example, solution architects in the survey, because I think it's like this sort of pyramid of positions.
Yes,
like
yeah, of
solution
course.
architect, you might have just only one or two in a company.
Yeah.
Rather, product managers, you might have many
10.
of them.
Of course.
10.
Yeah. Too many, right?
Yeah.
Managers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also the ones in the lowest part, I saw that were like people working in content, copywriters,
Yes.
and marketing, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is also, I mean, we had big differences, right? So I think they were like around 50K, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that inside, I mean, the whole skilled landscape, you have massive differences. And then you just need to see, like, also now with AI, right? Copywriting, it is obviously the one that is the fastest gonna get.
And what about the startups? Did you see any there?
Yeah, I was so I was so surprised that it was identical, right? So we had like maybe split was half. We asked, is your company identifying as a startup, right? So of course there was in definition. Of course I had someone complaining about the definition, right? But I mean it was quite good, right? So we had not gonna say 50-50, but close. Startups, non-startups, and the median was the same, 75,000. But the main difference was that the compensation satisfaction, which was also one of the 1 to 5, right, was lower in startups.
Okay.
A bit, right? The pay was the same, but the satisfaction was lower. And then when I was writing the report, I thought, okay, this must be because possibly in startups you just need to work more for this money, right?
Good.
The longer hours.
I would have expected the opposite, to be honest, because I work in some startups. The life was good. So at least the work environment
But the salary
was very nice. Yeah, the salary could be better.
In this case, yeah, it's interesting that the people earning the same stuff, they had a different perception.
Yeah.
But it could be that the level of pressure.
But
maybe
it's
and also maybe now there was a bit of dip in startup.
Also,
maybe there was a lot of more unsatisfied. I mean, it's very hard to say, right? So we will see the next year when we do it, when we have some more each year more data points. So it's very hard to interpret just on one data point.
Yeah, but also you have to keep in mind that like now the amount of startups is reducing, so that means that many people is afraid of that their position or that the whole startup will be finished.
Yeah,
they collapse. So they feel maybe that they need to work more, but they are not achieving the goals that they are supposed to achieve. And maybe the satisfaction.
You put a lot of job offers also in your newsletter, and in your newsletter. Have you detected some sort of trend there of less jobs or something?
No, I mean it's very hard for me to have any. It's my feelings here. So obviously I have a section in the newsletter where I list funding rounds, right? Berlin and Germany. And now if I would tell you, oh yeah, I noticed a trend. No, I mean, I didn't really analyze the data, but by the feeling, and also when you listen what's going on around, right? Interest rate went up. Obviously there is less money. It's better to put it in the bank. You don't need to look for startups to fund. So there was definitely a big dip in the whole VC scene everywhere and around the world. And Berlin is not excluded. So it was the same. And also on top of that, there was last year, maybe it's still companies saying, oh, we are laying off such and such amount of people. Now it's a lot of very silent layoffs. Nobody says anything, right? You just hear that some friends lost jobs, but there's this website layoffs FYI, and for example, sometimes they always had a lot of data points, and now I think everyone is just laying off silently. But it's also a bit picking up. Like interestingly, I have in my job selection, I do rotations. So 1 week I have HR, then I have designers, then I have software engineers. And I noticed at some point, maybe 6 months ago, it was really hard for me to find HR jobs. But now they are coming back. So it might be that there is already a bit of pickup because HR are the ones who are first laid off usually. And now when you see that they are hiring again in the...
means that they are being hired to hire people.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I found very scary, or in a way scary. I mean, I remember like 3 years ago, my LinkedIn inbox will be full with headhunter messages.
Yes.
And lately, I don't get any messages.
Because you're a software guy, huh?
Yeah.
So I have actually a theory about this. Yeah. So I think it was 2011 when this big VC, Mark Andreessen, he said that software will eat the world, right? And everyone started to say, oh, software, I want to be software engineer. Yeah? If you look also 3 years ago, you looked at people in Silicon Valley, big salaries. Obviously, everyone needs software guys. Yeah. So, of course, a lot of supply, a lot of people go to study and then eventually they get to the market. And now we have Copilot, we have all these tools when a good software engineer will be much more efficient, right? Because, I mean, with Copilot, you can do, I think that Microsoft said 70% of the code is already written with Copilot.
Wow.
Right? So you can achieve more as one software engineer with all the AI, etc. Plus you have a big supply of the new people that said, oh, this is the job for me. Like if you would ask me 5 years ago, what should I do? You should be software engineer. Like no brainer. And now there's a lot of supply and
all the boot camps that are
of course that's also in Berlin I think we have 3 or 4 boot camps, and this was always a good, okay, you don't know what to do, just go do some software stuff. You will always find a job. And now juniors especially have extremely big problems to get jobs. And I think it's simply because there is not, the question is, I don't know this answer, but will there be a massive pickup again on the software side, or will it now just, be like and there will be new types of jobs that people will be asked on LinkedIn like crazy, right?
It's a really hard thing. And then sometimes I don't know if they're just selling you hopes on the boot camps. I mean, if you could do the boot camp 3 months, but I think it's hard to expect a full-time job after that. I mean, students like you did, you had to do an internship. I don't know how long you did, like 6 months, to really understand how something works. So I think people coming out from a boot camp, they need to start also from a unpaid internship or a very low pay internship, because it's really hard to really assess if you can do something.
And
3 months.
But the expectation that the bootcamp companies are setting, right?
Yes, it's
especially
realistic.
2 years ago. Now it's maybe less. It was like, okay, you're gonna get 3, because they also get financed by the state, right?
Exactly.
Here. So
for
the business model is get people in.
Exactly.
And I mean, I support people trying to do stuff, right? But just the expectation needs to be clear that it's very unlikely, if you never did anything, after 3 months that you will be able to. I mean, it's a great thing, for example, if you're specialized in Python. I mean, you're really good and you say, okay, I lost my job, so let me do 3 months of Java, right?
Yeah.
I mean, excellent, because then but the logic of software engineering makes a lot of sense. But if I was before a political science guy and never written print hello world, and now suddenly I want to be Python developer, never ever in 3 months, never ever.
But still, I mean, people back then, like 3 years ago, they managed to do it. The problem is that nowadays it's hard because,
I think
have all of these tools. You can have a senior who can be 10x more productive with all the AI tools. And the second thing that I've also found scary, because if you go there to the jobs in LinkedIn, and then you can see sometimes how many applicants you have per job, and then sometimes you see 120, 150, 250 applicants for a job, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, but it's also true that on LinkedIn, especially with the easy applies, people just click, right?
Exactly.
So I wouldn't be so discouraged by these numbers, right? So, but it's also true with job applications. At least my theory is you need to prepare yourself well. You need to have ideally adjusted CV and a cover letter, and then just go. Don't be. I mean, you need to talk hundreds, right? We are talking hundreds, probably hundreds of applications for most of the roles. This now changed.
Yeah. Did you see any in the report any difference between or any trend between non-European and European citizens?
Yeah, I mean we had, but the thing, we had a lot of non-EU passports, right? Big majority. But I didn't have enough data. I wouldn't make a statement, right?
Okay.
So, for example, on German or German dual, we had a big spread. We didn't have many candidates, but big spread, which means that, and then when you look at the non-EU was the same, if you will check the charts, very big spread. And this means that if we would have more data points, it would be very similar. So I don't think I wouldn't say there's a big difference. I think the main difference is when did you arrive in Berlin and how well did you negotiate. I wouldn't say that the nationality plays any role.
Yeah, it's true that Berlin, it's very attractive for foreigners.
Yeah, you go to a bar, you order in German, they will reply in English.
Yeah. And the companies that you have here that you can, they are international companies. They say like, we have like 30 nationalities in this company, and you cannot expect the same thing in other places in Germany. So you can have that environment where you can live or work in English, where you might not have that same thing in other parts.
But maybe just to add on this, there's an extremely big problem in all the small villages or small town, because Germany is really equally developed, right? You have companies everywhere, each part of Germany, and they struggle. If they are very German-speaking company, they extremely struggle to attract software engineers, or there's thousands of open positions. So the best thing for you to do if you want to have a job in Germany is to learn German and also be, for example, a software engineer, and don't mind going to maybe, not Berlin, but this is really easy, especially if you speak German, and they will take you with both hands, right?
I got once an offer from the Deutsche Bahn, but it was for their office in Halle.
Yeah.
Halle is one of the cities that has more, a lot of AfD voters.
Yeah.
A big problem of discrimination and racism there. Why should I move there? Like,
but I mean,
why?
Yeah, but also, I mean, if you think now, Western Germany, right? Like very international, right? So, I mean, if I would be now saying, I really want to do software engineering in Germany, it's many great opportunities still. But if you speak German and you are ready to go to maybe even Köln or a lot of other cities, which is not AfD cities, I'm sure they would take you immediately. Yeah.
And between men and women, did you see any?
Yeah, I think it's actually very sad. Because I just when we did the first analysis, obviously full-time work plus this after work, it was suffering, right? So I did the first analysis 2 weeks after we collected the results. And then now I'm looking deeper, and I just am doing the more deeper dives in gender differences, because initially we said 15%, over roughly 15% difference, and we had mostly full-time people, so it's not like some people work less, maybe, but negligible. And now I looked into education, into management levels, and it's crazy that it's almost always around 15%. I think lowest was maybe in the junior positions, where it was 2 to 3% only, right? But this is like people with 1 year working experience. The more you experience management positions, the difference between men and women is 15% or even more.
Okay.
And this is also on management positions. And what is actually the crazy part is that also if you would say startups are more like, progressive, it's the same problem. I mean, it's terrible. When you look at these results, you think, I mean, obviously you can argue there is some, but maybe responsibility. There's always something hidden in the data maybe, but the differences are actually very sad.
But it's very interesting that you say that it looks like they both start at equal salaries, but the more they grow and the more they get and the more seniority, the gap gets bigger.
Yeah, but this could also be explained like this, that now people are more, the people who got hired last year, they just started, maybe they are getting treated more equally.
Okay.
And now maybe in the future, the gap will narrow, because this is an old, if you say I'm 5 years experience or 10 years experience, this is sort of an old gap, right?
Okay.
If you would interpret it this way. But I think women are always in a disadvantage, right? So that's now also shown clearly by this data.
Yeah, and this is interesting, because sometimes people will use this. You said all of them are full time, because sometimes they say but they are sometimes part time, or they have or maternity leave, and therefore the data shows that they earn less. But in this case, you are seeing that those are the ones in full time.
I mean,
some people would argue that, or would say that it's because they don't know how to negotiate a salary.
But on the other hand, like, the companies are the ones that are accepting or not this salary. So, for instance, you have two people, and then a man and woman, and one comes with both came with the same salary, and you choose the man. Then it is the system. It's not that the woman is not able to negotiate.
Or if you, as an employer, think that you can throw a lower offer to a woman because you know that she will not fight back, and also that will be a systemic thing.
Yeah, and like I have friends, and they are now in the age where they might have kids, right? Mm-hmm. And it's also a lot of, it's very illegal to do this, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of at least what they told me, right, that they have a feeling that when you then have two candidates, right, that they are obviously disadvantaged because there's a likelihood that they will have kids, right? Of course, nobody will admit it because it would be
illegal.
But they say to me, this is a factor, right? Okay. When you are applying, they feel it. A couple of friends. I'm also not gonna say I have now massive data set, right? It's anecdotal evidence, but it is the fact. Yeah.
And it's something hard to prove, right? Because it's just in the bias or in the conscious bias of the lawyer. Nobody will confess it.
Nobody will admit it,
You see any difference of the level of studies between master or just bachelor?
Yeah, but my main question will be, does it pay to do a master, or you can earn the same with bachelor?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Last year, I think it wasn't much, right? Even with bachelor, you could do the same. But this year, I didn't check that, but it's also true that we had 90% of all the respondents were either of the three, right? So we had very skilled respondents. Mm-hmm. But last year at least it showed that bachelor is the best deal, right?
Yeah. Bachelor is the minimum that you need in order to move to Germany.
As a non-European.
Yeah.
And also if you take it by the years that you have to invest on a bachelor, and if you, especially it depends in which area, right? If you go in software engineering, is the best return of investment, I guess, right? Just a bachelor.
Yeah, it also depends how I know some people who never studied and they are amazing,
exactly.
right? It's
exactly.
It's one of those things that,
Imagine invest 2 or 3 years in a master, when you can invest those 3 years in experience that at the end will get better. Also.
Or like Benji and I we study in a public university. We paid almost nothing.
25 euros per semester.
Not 25 years.
No,
100 euros per semester.
100 euros per semester.
And was a public school. We know people who went to a private school, invested a lot of money, and they will only get the same job as we did with no investment. So it's like very good return of investment. Yeah. Because we arrived to Germany and they say, I don't know this public university, but I also don't know this private university. So it's equal for me. Okay, come in. So that was for us the outcome, right?
Yeah. At the end, it was more about our knowledge and the experience that we can have.
But at least it's one of those, little did he finish or did she finish or
Yeah,
not, right? It's just a bit of a,
Mhm.
like, what did you finish? We're able, at least for me, it's university, or is sort of like, did you able to push through when it was like you could go and party,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but you did then do the studies? I mean, it's a bit of a sign, right? But I know so many people who didn't finish and they are amazing in what they do. So
It's just some stuff that you use to maybe confirm some assumptions. Yeah, you would think, okay, if someone does a PhD, maybe you can think, okay, is someone who really can dedicate and go into one topic. Maybe it's just a sign of resilience.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course, it
It's
is
not that
for
you
sure.
need the person because of the knowledge, but more like about the character that you need to have in order to complete a PhD.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm. We were talking before about how to pick the right company and what you should look when you want to move to another to change job. And you were saying that you were asking sometimes friends how do they feel in their company, so you have a better idea of how to find the right company.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the hardest questions,
Mhm.
and I don't have an answer yet. Yeah? So that's what I'm now also exploring.
Mhm.
On the side, I'm very much interested in this problem,
Mhm.
and I think obviously, if that was also my experience when I was looking for a job in Berlin, you check a bit job boards, and then you check a bit who got funded, how much they got funded.
Mhm.
And then eventually you realize that this is not everything. If some investor puts some money in a company, this is a signal, but it's not the only signal. You can check a bit, for example, if it's a startup, what did founders do before? Check some interviews. Do you have a good feeling listening to them? There's a lot of ways you can be creative, and this is maybe makes sense after the first interview, where you start to feel, okay, this is going somewhere. Obviously, you can't do this research for 100 applications, but to do your research, like let me now spend 2-3 hours. What business model they have? Is this, is this company delivering instant groceries? Is this, can they really make money long term? Like, and obviously now we see they can't.
Yeah.
But for example, for that time, it was clear for me, I'm not going to work for a company like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just need to try to see how good is the business model, and then also double check the people, because I'm convinced if you have a excellent manager and this topic is shit, you will still enjoy your work. But if you have an amazing topic but shit manager, you will hate your life. You will hate every single day or a team.
Yeah.
So it's always a bit of a mixture. But if you now want me to say, sum up, right, what factors I would say to really do research, who is the management of this company, what are they saying, how do you like the presentations, how they speak, because these are the guys who will make or break the company. And this is true in any company. Is it big one, small one? When you see the CEO speak, does he give you a good, what does your gut say? Yeah, is this the guy I want to now go and work for? Is more like meh?
I have, and maybe, I don't know, you will tell me if you agree with this, because I have detected some red flags when you go to a company and how you can detect them. The first one is you go to the interview and you ask it to make it at 5 in the afternoon. So you have your interview and everything. And then if you finish around 6 or 6:30, you should check if the office is empty or if there's still a lot of people working there. That's something that you could check.
Okay.
Means that if after 6 you see that there's still a lot of people working in the company, it means that people are overworking or are overstressed.
Or maybe they like it so much.
Depends.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe they're playing
is...
kicker, maybe.
If they're in the kitchen and they're having a good time, then that's different. But if you see them, they're still working already at 6:30-ish, then I think that's a red flag. The second one is if they call their people family. Join your company family. We are a family. And if you see the word family around the company too much, then I'm like, red flag.
Okay.
And the third one is if in benefits, they only offer fruit baskets and fruit mate and drinks. Okay. And that's the third red flag, because if that's the only benefit that they can offer, it means that they don't have much more than that.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like this idea about the office, but the problem is that usually it's online interviews. So you need to probably say, I want to come into the office for an interview.
At least for the final one, maybe in
Yeah.
that sense.
Yeah, good ideas.
I mean, for the final one, I will always argue that I want to meet, especially the CEO in person. Yeah, like you said, I want to know for whom I'm working for, right? I want to see the person in the eye and tell me, can you make money with this company, right?
Yeah, that's especially true for startups, right?
Yeah.
Because startups, often you have this founder complex, right? Where they think, okay, I raised some money, now I'm the king, and they are maybe even young, and then you come, as an maybe older, more experienced, and then you see what they are saying makes no sense. So it's obviously very hard to work in this environment.
Yeah, as you said before, then you get a 25-year-old telling you how to do your job.
Which also could be like, you have 25 years olds who are amazing, right? I don't want to now say that. I mean, Mozart, he did amazing stuff when he was 13, 12. You have these people, no question. Age doesn't mean much, right? But it sometimes you have these egos who are just egos and nothing more behind that.
Like the founder from WeWork, for example.
Yeah, but you can say that he was very charismatic guy. And I just met one guy in WeWork here in Berlin, and he says, amazing, I wish I was there earlier. Because what people tell him all these stories, so people had fun.
Okay.
So who didn't have fun in WeWork was the investor.
Yeah.
But people working with this guy, they love, at least what I heard, right? Okay. They really liked it. Yeah.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, but we are now making.
Yeah. So that's the difference between making money and having a good working environment. True. So that's
have a good working environment, but not making money. Yeah, true. This is an interesting one. I mean, I think therefore maybe a lot of people was interested in taking part of the salary report survey. It's because maybe a lot of people don't feel comfortable sharing their salary among their colleagues.
Absolutely.
And I don't know how it's in Slovenia. Is it that very openly, or is also like
no? I think it's the same everywhere. I think it's very taboo topic.
Yeah,
at least my impression. Maybe I'm not. I don't know any. Yeah, and I think everyone is keeping this a bit to themselves. Like obviously, you're gonna have teams where they a bit whisper to each other and they tell each other. But I personally. Okay, it's also true that in big companies, German companies, you have usually bands, right? So you know roughly if they are hiring for this position and they say this is the band, you will know roughly how much your colleagues are earning. But of course, inside this band, you can be on different levels of it. So in general, people have an impression for these big companies where they have really clear rules, where they have really unions determining stuff. Also public sector, you roughly know.
Yeah.
But for this, like startups, you have no idea, right? They can just... So I think, I don't know why, we are a bit maybe afraid that we will find out that we are underpaid. Or I don't know, I never really felt comfortable going around shouting my salary.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's with you.
But I hear that there is because the companies does not want you to know how much is earning the other person, because then you will see that you are underpaid and then you may ask for more.
Also possible, yeah. It's not in the interest, if you see logically, it's not in the interest of the employer that the salaries are completely transparent.
Yeah.
Because you can be extremely good. You can be such a problem solver. They will just pay you much more. And another colleague is also very good, but in a bit different way. And they will say, okay, he's worth a bit less to us. But of course, if he would find that out, he would feel... And actually, it's also interesting, just recently read that if good performance, so people who are performing well, and when the new joiners come, if they get paid more, because that's also possible, right?
Yes.
If you join later, then... Because you as a beginner entered at some level, right?
Yeah.
Then you gradually move.
No.
But some new joins and they are like you, they are not better than you, but they get paid much more. Then it's basically proven that the good performers will leave if this happens. And so you need to be aware that if you stay in a company for many years, you are probably underpaid. Probably.
Yeah.
Because I also, just in this last newsletter, I had a chart about who is getting more raises, stayers or sort of people who are changing. And it's been very clear in the US, I think it's the same here, that 1 to 2%, the ones who are changing jobs are always an advantage. So if you want to get a raise, you should move, probably.
Yeah. But you should not move too much, because then it's a red flag for the company. But if
you say 2-3 years,
2-3 years is completely fine. But there's people that they want to take advantage of this jumping, and then they change work every 6 months.
That's not serious.
Yeah, there's a point where it doesn't work so much in their benefit, because when I review CVs, also there's a point where like, this person, how many jobs this person had in 3 years, is like, and then you're like, you don't even look the rest.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's a red flag then.
Lately, I have been researching a lot about the job industries, and also how to look maybe for jobs and what you should look for newcomers, or for people who want to get a new job. What is the best way for them to break into the market, into the job market in Germany?
You mean as from outside Germany?
From outside, yeah.
Now the question is, do you need a visa or not? Like this visa support relocation, it's getting, because now, there's been a bit of a dip in the market. So I think this part is, at least from feeling, hard, much harder. But I mean, what you could do, probably I think Germany is a great place, right? Especially people are complaining a lot. But it's a great opportunity to be here and work here, because in general, people, if you compare the working style in the US, China, India, I mean, in Europe, we have it relaxed. So it's very easy to stand out if you're ready to move, to push. So if I would say, okay, if I'm now a software guy, I mentioned before, then speaking some German, having some side projects, trying to do something, and then also just applying big numbers, but also putting effort in your application, right? For example, that you have a CV, and then in the CV you also adapt it a bit to what they are searching for, that you find the ways that you can fit, like that you show them what you did very concretely with numbers, with facts. And then on top, I think what is the best bet is to write a very good cover letter. Because I did a research with my previous managers, all the people that I really respect. I asked them, how do you hiring manager, not HR. And half of them said, I don't care about cover letter. But half of them said, I care about a cover letter. So now think, most of the people don't give a shit about the cover letter. Right? But you take care of the cover letter. So you write a very nice cover letter. So the hiring manager, if he's one of the 50%, he will love it. And you will be already standing out, because the rest will be putting in ChatGPT generated crap. Or they will just put nothing, because it's often not mandatory. Just upload CV, push, shoot every direction. So I think it makes sense to put effort. And if you are a junior, where it's your first job in Germany, or you try to get here, I think it's very important that you have something to show. Otherwise, it's going to be extremely hard. Like if you say, okay, I want to work in Germany in 6 months or 1 year, you can start with German. First thing. Second, start some projects, whatever profession it is. You can start projects with whatever. There's, for example, websites which show you different bloggers in Germany who have about pages. Just find someone, connect with them, start working on something, because people will see that you're active and you will stand out. Plus of course, the cover letter. I think that's a winner.
That's a good advice. Just out of curiosity, when you wanted to start doing an app, and you said, okay, I want to hire a developer, create the next app, and have my startup, what happened? What was your idea back then, and why did you?
So my idea was to do, and I think it's a great idea. It was a personal finance management app. where it would tell you, if I have 300 euros extra cash flow, what should I do with it, right? Based on certain parameters that I set up, right? So, but the problem with this thing with money is that you have 100 people and you will have 110 opinions about money, right? So it's very hard to pinpoint it. And my solution, and actually I did a solution which was a PowerPoint. I had a PowerPoint sort of explanation, imagine, like sort of flow. And then I just couldn't do it myself, obviously. I couldn't do prototype. And with all the co-founders that I worked with, it didn't work, right? It's almost impossible to find a co-founder. So I then put it to the drawer.
Okay.
But yeah, it was an app about personal finance, but not this budgeting, right? I really did a lot of research. I read like 50, 100 papers on finance, how people are thinking about money. And the main problem with these finance apps is that it's a behavior problem, right? You want to change people's behaviors, and money is like everyone thinks about money completely differently.
Okay.
So and then I just gave up, and it's good that I gave up in the sense that I didn't really go and pay because I wouldn't be able to build a good product with some hired gun.
Yeah. And you would have spent all of your severance money from
exactly, and then have zero result. Yeah, and this is a lot of people, and that's because I mean, you guys are more into the startups, right? Before I wasn't. So when you are not into this scene, and if you don't read the right books, you just start to imagining things. You think, okay, I need now an app. I will pay someone, and then I need to. It's first to the market and all this bullshit, which is never the truth, right? Any idea, it will take years.
Yes.
Everyone thinks, I mean, I can go a bit into the 0 to 1, right? Peter Thiel, right?
Exactly.
And I think it's actually a very dangerous book.
Why?
It's a great book, but it's a very dangerous book because everyone takes it in their hand, they read it, and then they say, oh yeah, I really need a big idea. Like Zuckerberg, right? Like Facebook.
Yeah.
But the initial thing that Zuckerberg did, he wanted to be very popular on the campus, and he wanted to have girls, right? Like, I mean, he didn't think I'm going to be the massive media company, right?
Yeah.
When he started. So obviously he did very many things very correctly. But this was also I read the book and I was thinking, oh, I really need something big.
What did he say is, I only care about monopolies.
Yes.
I'm for monopolies, because if you are not a monopoly, then it's not going to be 100x or something like that, he says.
Yeah, and that's why, I mean, it's a great book to see the perspective, but if you want to build something, it can stop you because you think I really need something big.
Yeah.
And now I have my newsletter, I can do everything myself. I mean, obviously adding projects, but if I would say to Peter Thiel, I'm going to do a newsletter, you're going to say, just get out of have fun. It's a hobby, which is true, right? It's a hobby.
And then you read a 4-hour week then?
No, I didn't.
Because that goes more like into that direction, like build something small that creates more like community, and you can dedicate besides your job.
But I mean, the main reason I build this is because now I have audience. And when you have an audience, you can then spread the ideas. Because it's very easy for all this. I mean, I don't know if you're on Twitter or like there's a lot of these entrepreneur recipe guys or thread boys or whatever, and they will say, I just put the payment link out and I got business validated. Yeah, but he had 100,000 followers. And if you with your 10 followers put a payment link out with the identical idea, nothing will happen because it can't. Right? Very unlikely. And that was my goal, build an audience. And now I can test ideas. I can say, do you like this? Do you like that? And people will tell me, no, it's shit, or it's good, it's whatever.
Yeah, but it's also because of this mentality of immediate rewarding.
Yeah, so, because everyone wants to have give me a recipe.
Yeah,
how I do it, I will do it, and then next week I'm a successful founder, a multi-millionaire. Yeah, that's what the expectation is. But life is never like that.
They want a magic recipe. I mean, even though, and the other thing, some people, they ask, tell me how to do it. And people with experience will tell them how to do it.
Yeah.
And they will not do it. One guy had an idea like many years ago. And I went to a friend. He had already a startup. So I wanted him to be like my mentor. And I told him my idea. And he told me, all right, yeah, it looks good. He asked me a bunch of questions. He challenged me on some approaches, and then he told me, okay, when you have like maybe 1,000 users, give me a call, and then we can see how we can get you some angel investors. He told me that what's the first step? Get the first 1,000 users.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. He told me what to do, and I didn't do it. So it's like, what do you need to do? Build an audience, build a prototype.
Yeah.
Build a prototype, validate it. People don't do it. So, but you just had an idea then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
ideas.
But that's actually the way that it needs to be evolving. So you create something small and then you evolve it and then grows. It's not like from the night to day you will be having an amazing idea and it's built and then it's online and you are a millionaire.
Yeah, and a lot of people say this, that idea is worthless, right? The idea is absolutely worthless because you need to execute. And that's usually the problem. So when sometimes people are afraid to tell the idea, right? You're going to steal it. No way. I mean, there's so many ideas flowing around, but the execution is the problem. And I had just really crazy. I told you before, I'm not really into podcasts. Yeah? But I listened to one, somebody suggested it. I open it on my playlist and it's Ali Abdal talking with Priestley is his surname, about entrepreneurship masterclass is the 2 hours, 30 minutes. And I start to listen to this. I still didn't finish. I'm already listening for 1 week. But the point is that this is an amazing thing because the guy is just opening. I'm like, wow, yeah, amazing idea. Everything is just so good. It's like I got these inputs at the right moment. And it's just such an amazing experience. Just basically how one little conversation can shift your thinking. So I completely changed my mind how I'm thinking about just basically by randomly somebody sent, I don't know who, thank you. I mean, whoever, somebody sent me this at some point and I saved it and listened it last week and it was revelation. Right?
Yeah. Do you remember one key point?
Yeah, it's called chaos. Yeah, he says that you should have a concept, then you should have an audience, right? Then you should have an offer, and then you should have sales. And then he explains this process. So I have an audience, so now I need an offer, and then I need a sale. And then he also gives a lot of tips, right? How to build a business. And like, for example, he says you should hire people who are, for whom working for you will be next step. So he says, when I see someone cleaning the tables in McDonald's, but they have with a good attitude, he always offer them a job. There is amazing. I mean, you should definitely listen to it. It's an amazing.
That sounds like
it's an amazing episode because everything I heard there was just wow. I was like, wow, amazing.
It sounds like this guy has a lot of, let's say, frameworks on how to operate, and that helps sometimes a lot. Like, for example, breaking things down into some initials, like this one, chaos, and then like, okay, you said it was create
a concept,
okay,
audience, offer, sale. And I actually, and it's very simple. I mean, audience is not simple, but I mean, he also gives a lot of tips about this. Yeah. And I really need to learn a lot about entrepreneurship. I'm very good in content, in the, projects, but how to sell them, I'm really shit. So I still need to, learn about that.
Well, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Welcome to the show. It's the Guten Tag Podcast.